James Bond 007 Agent Under Fire is a first-person shooter based on the James Bond franchise. It is the fourth Bond game which is not based on a film or book in the James Bond series, following James Bond 007 The Duel, James Bond 007 and EA's own 007 Racing. The game's story arc continues in the following sequel, Nightfire, released a year later. Unlike previous Bond games which featured the likeness of then current Bond actor Pierce Brosnan, Agent Under Fire used the voice of Adam Blackwood and the likeness of English actor Andrew Bicknell for Bond. Agent Under Fire features over 15 different types of firearm, as well as other weapons. Each firearm is based on a real firearm, but is given a pseudonym, the same manner as the weapons in GoldenEye 007, and the world is not enough. Most of the gadgets are concealed in a mobile phone, including a decryptor, grapple, laser, and remote transmitter. Bond is also provided with a card that disrupts electronic signals, as well as a jetpack. The multiplayer mode in Agent Under Fire features up to 4 players, with several unique arenas to host multiplayer battles in. The multiplayer games can also be played with one player against an AI player. EA stated in several gaming magazines that Bond would be going back to its roots, as the game was originally designed to be a true successor to Rare's 1997 GoldenEye. Early promo screenshots of the game reflected this, featuring the GoldenEye health bar. Agent Under Fire received mixed to positive reviews. Game rankings and Metacritic gave the PlayStation 2 version 75 and 72%. The Cincinnati Enquirer gave the game 3.5 stars out of 5 and called it slick, sexy and jam-packed with action, but this adventure is short with limited playability over time, except perhaps for its multiplayer modes.
I don't know how to thank you.
I'm sure we'll think of something.
James Bond 007 Nightfire is a first-person shooter featuring the Pierce Brosnan version of the British secret agent James Bond. His mission this time is to stop the Phoenix Corporation. It is the sequel to Agent Under Fire. There is a total of 12 missions, all of which combine stealth, combat, and Q's gadgets, such as the laser watch and X-ray eyeglasses. The game also features over 10 multiplayer modes, some of which include characters from previous Bond movies. James Bond 007 Everything or Nothing is a third-person shooter, in which the player controls James Bond. Bond is modeled after and voiced by Pierce Brosnan. Written by Bruce Fierstein, Danny Bilson, and Paul DeMaio, Everything or Nothing centers around Bond dealing with the use of nanotechnology as terrorism. It is the second Bond game played in third person after Tomorrow Never Dies, and is the first Bond game to both feature a 2-player cooperative mode and lack deathmatch multiplayer mode. The game features returning Bond actors John Cleese and Judi Dench, as Q and M respectively. The gameplay is a mix of third-person shooting action sequences and vehicle sequences. In third-person missions, Bond can typically use cover, engage in hand-to-hand combat, use gadgets and perform some context-sensitive actions, while driving sequences primarily involve racing to a specific objective. Everything or Nothing's game engine evolved from the engine used in Agent Under Fire. Like its predecessor, the driving sections were developed using a separate engine by EA Canada. The driving was based on the engine from Need for Speed. Everything or Nothing received positive reviews. Game rankings and Metacritic both gave it 84%. GameSpot gave it an 8.8. Calling it a really great game, perhaps the best James Bond game ever made. IGN said EA shakes things up and gives us a fresh new perspective on how good Bond can be. However, some critics were not as impressed. UK gaming magazine Edge gave the game a 5/10, saying that
it's perhaps because the title benefits from such a high production spend, in fact, that the average design and execution becomes more pronounced.
Maxim gave it a perfect 10 and stated that players can race through a shitstorm of artillery fire in a Porsche Cayenne Turbo, complete with Q-Cloak invisibility feature, or missile-firing Triumph Daytona 600.
And, what about us? Oh, James.
In GoldenEye Rogue Agent, the player takes the role of an ex-MI6 agent, who is recruited by Auric Goldfinger, a member of a powerful unnamed criminal organization based on the Ian Fleming Spectre, to assassinate his rival Dr. No. Several other characters from the Bond series make appearances throughout the game, including Pussy Galore, Oddjob, Xenia Onatop, and Francisco Scaramanga. Despite its name and being part of the James Bond universe, the game has no relation to the 1995 film or the 1997 video game of the same name. In this setting, the game's protagonist is given the name GoldenEye after he loses his eye and receives a gold-colored cybernetic replacement. Electronic Arts has listed the title as a spin-off that do not make part of the canon they have built with Tomorrow Never Dies. GoldenEye, Rogue Agent is a first-person shooter, played across 8 levels. The player can use various types of handheld weapons throughout the game, as well as the GoldenEye, which has 4 abilities: MRI Vision, allowing the player to see through walls, EM-Hack, allowing the player to hack electronic systems, machines, and enemies' weapons, a Polarity Shield, which deflects incoming bullets, and a Magnetic Field, which allows the player to send enemies flying to their deaths. Each ability is granted to the player as the game progresses. Each ability requires a certain amount of energy, seen on a meter. After using an ability, the meter slowly recharges itself. The game featured a highly customizable multiplayer component with 4-player split-screen play, as well as online play which supported up to 8 players. On October 1, 2006, the servers were shut down due to inactivity online. Players can unlock additional customization options, skins, maps, and game type variations by playing through story mode, earning octopus tokens based on performance. There are some locked skins such as Oddjob, Dr. No, and Xenia Onatop. There are also locked maps such as the Pump Room, Carver's Press, the Vault Core, the Lower Turbine, and Dr. No's Reactor.
It could easily have been more than your eye.
James Bond 007 from Russia with Love is a third-person shooter featuring Ian Fleming's secret agent, James Bond, whose likeness and voice is that of Sean Connery.
May I help you?
A dry martini. Shaken, not stout.
Certainly, Commander Bond.
The game is based on the 1957 novel and the film of the same name. The game follows the storyline of the book and film, with adding in new scenes to make the game more action-oriented, as well as changing the affiliation of the main villains. Additionally, it features many elements of later Bond films to recreate the feel of the era, such as the Aston Martin DB5 that debuted in the 1964 Goldfinger and the jetpack from the 1965 Thunderball. From Russia with Love is also notable in that it is the first video game to use Sean Connery's younger likeness as James Bond, and the first to include all new voice work by the actor after 22 years away from the role. In most of the 18 missions, the player progresses through linear levels while shooting everything in sight. The player can lock onto an enemy at range and cycle between visible enemies, or focus in closer on a single enemy to make opportunistic targets appear, such as uncovered grenades, or gaps in armor. Sometimes Bond can also use stealth or hand-to-hand combat, which are basically quick time events where the player needs to press a displayed button in a limited time to dispatch a foe. Special tasks can be performed with gadgets, for example the laser watch or a small remote-controlled helicopter. This procedure gets spiced up with occasional driving or new jetpack sequences. From Russia with Love is the first title developed by Electronic Arts Redwood Shores to use an integrated game engine for the third-person shooter action and driving segments. It was a new engine that was not based on any of the technology used for previous titles in the series, but the result was similar to a Tech 3. The game was written by Bruce Fierstein, who previously worked on the film scripts for GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough, in addition to the script for the 2004 video game Everything or Nothing. Based on the scripts of the 21st James Bond 007 movie Casino Royale and the 22nd movie of the same name as the game, it follows closely the story of those movies but elaborates many scenes and fills in some blanks.
The name is Bond, James Bond. Mr. White, we need to talk. Care to reconsider, Mr. Bond?
The game is an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter, much like 007 Everything or Nothing. Players must take advantage of interactive environments as they navigate Bond through the real-world locations of the films Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale. Bond can confront enemies in a variety of ways, including taking them head-on, fire from behind cover or sneak up silently and eliminate them with a variety of special takedown moves.